Welcome to Quad Radio as we begin a big summer break for the AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Championship Series and kick off the second leg of the 2014 AMA ATV National Motocross Championship. Hello, everyone. Rodney Tomlin today, joined by none other than Ken Hill, who is a media specialist, I guess you could say, as far as the ATV racing world is concerned, and not only ATV, but also the motorcycle things there at the GNCC also. But Kenny's just an all-around great addition to the social media side of things, as well as photography. And he's also a great guy to talk to, and he's got some interesting perspective. As we say, good afternoon and welcome to Kenny. And Kenny, I know that you're hanging out up there in West Virginia. You got the gardening going on, man. I've seen some great pictures. You got wildlife is just abundant around your house right now. Things seem to be going pretty good from that aspect. But you've been, I think, man, something like a mule's got you down and kicked you or something, man, because you've been kind of under the weather the last couple of weeks. What's going on, dude?
Oh, heck if I know. I come down with something right at Sunset Ridge at the motocross race, and ended up having got an infection, and doctor had to put a drain in my arm. So I've been dealing with that, and got home from the GNCC this weekend, was able to pull that sucker out of there, so that was got me feeling better. It ain't killed me yet.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot more than that, huh?
I kind of figured I'd go out in a blaze of glory with some angry husband, not some little microbe.
Well, at least you're honest with yourself and everybody else, I guess.
Well, yeah, you might not like what I got to say, but I'm going to say it anyway.
There you go. That's for sure. And Kenny, speaking of what you got to say, man, what do you got to say about what's going on right now? Let's just talk about, first and foremost, I guess, since GNCC is going to be going on its big, long summer break this summer, we can highlight that first, and then I want to talk about the upcoming second part of the 2014 Mountain Dew AMA ATV National Motocross Championship Series, as we've got some pretty good things heating up over there, and some fairly big news, I think, to talk about. But anyway, first and foremost, we just wrapped up the first 9 rounds of 2014 for GNCC. There's 4 more here beginning in September, but we've got this long summer break. And wow, what a big turn of events this past weekend as far as the ATV racing at Snowshoe GNCC. We had a great facility as always. The weather was rather wet and moist and foggy, and it was a wild weekend. Let's talk about it. Tell me about it from your perspective. Tell me about your snowshoe weekend, and then we'll talk about the racing and that first part of the season.
Oh, snowshoes are the place I love to hate. I mean, it's completely different. We're not out in a field somewhere, and everybody's got a nice hotel room, or walking through the courtyard, drinking a Starbucks $7 coffee, or the entire nightlife on Saturday nights, just a brand new experience for what you would consider traditional GNCC. It's always a big event. I mean, for the first few years, I hated it. That place isn't there to cover on foot without something to ride around on. And even with a four-wheeler to ride, it's so big and so spread out that, cutting off the riders to get the pictures or the video, it really takes a lot of work. Not just from me, but, the video guys and everything, and you guys keeping up with the action for the live feed. So, it's a pretty big deal. I've grown to love it. I still don't like Starbucks coffee, but, I just, it's a different atmosphere. Everybody seems really laid back. It's even the pro riders, you talk to them before the race, they're not that amped up, know what they got to do kind of thing, because it literally is a venue that anybody can win. It's so rough, so rugged. You got the different style starts. It's just a handful for them guys. But like I said, I think it lowers their anxiety a little bit. Maybe it's the atmosphere, maybe it's just the way the race is. I'm not sure.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. It certainly evens the playing field out for them, and they know and they realize this, I think, going into that, Kenny. And I mean, Walker Fowler was a perfect example of that. Chris Borich was a perfect example of that. Brian Wolf, on the other hand, I think he was pretty amped up and pretty psyched up.
He stays that way.
Yeah, that's true, and especially knowing how well he does there, and how well he did this past weekend there. I mean, just amazing in and of itself. But another rider that, and you can say he stays there also, I think, is Adam McGill, who actually ended up winning that race whenever it was all said and done. He was.
That was his third win. His actual national number is number 3. It was a Honda in the Snow Globe Trophy, and it had a number 3 on it.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, I read his mom's post this morning on her Facebook page. There's a lot of 3s and numerology going on there.
Wow, and also he is the only natural-born West Virginian to win an overall pro race there, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure of that, and that's pretty good. And he and David Knight on the motorcycle side of things are the only ones that have 3 wins there now. So wow. That was a big weekend as far as the ATV racing and records, and it seems like Karma and Auras and everything like that was concerned. I mean, that all sounds so neat.
I bumped into Fowler, and I was like, "What happened, man?" And he's like, "You're not going to believe it. It was a golf cart road section, so it's asphalt." And he said he come around a corner, and there was a big rock laying there, and he clipped it with his front tire, and it went under the quad and just took his chain and all out. All the rocks on that whole course, he's got to hit one on asphalt.
No way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that is the weirdness that snowshoe is.
You know what's really odd, and Walker's such a humble individual, and he wasn't. He was excited about the possibilities of being able to win. He had that confidence going in, but he had the humbleness, and I don't know if you call it experience or maybe just an overwhelming uneasy feeling about heading into that day, because one of the things that he said when I talked to him on Saturday morning before the race was that, as great as it is to have the 8-point deficit heading into that round, and as great as it looked like that, the possibilities if he could win, how much closer he could be to getting that championship points race tied up with Chris Borch, or maybe even going ahead if Chris was to have another bad day, because of the way things have been going. But the one thing that Walker said was, it could happen that way for me too. I have an 8-point deficit today heading into this race. He goes, I could just as easily have a 38-point deficit when we leave today. And Fortunately for him, he did go out. Unfortunately for him, that part. Fortunately for him, Chris didn't win the overall, so he didn't lose an entire 30 points, but there is a big points gap there now.
Well, Chris said something I hadn't heard him say since probably his B-class days, and he said, well, we're going to have to go home and do some work. And that just showed me, the last couple rounds, Fowler's really brought it to Chris. Fowler's just got to find his speed, and I think he's finding it. He's always fast.
Right.
But, last year I talked to him, and I said, you guys are always wanting to go out there, and nobody wants to lead the race. Biffles told me that. Borich has told me that. Back when Bill was still coming to the track, me and Bill Balance both told him that, if he wants to not lead the race, then force him to lead. And then last year, I think it was at Steel Creek, I told Fowler, I said, fine. So y'all don't play what Bill told you or what I told you. Just why don't you just go out there and lead the whole damn thing? Just go set your own pace and win it. And it seemed like he started really, not that I'm taking credit for it, of course, but it just seemed like he started pushing harder. In other words, yeah, you're right. Get him out of my head and go run my race.
Right. And, it's funny because I think I was telling him the same thing right around the same time, so I'm sure we're probably not the only ones that was harping on him about that.
Well, when you're at those races, you can see it. You can watch them stack up behind a rider, and you know that they're faster, but they're letting that person lead. Chris has just got explosive speed everywhere.
Right.
The one thing with the LTR, his quad of choice is, there's rocks. I don't think it's the best one. I don't think it has the ground clearance the others do. So he's at a little bit of a disadvantage. He's getting the snot beat out of him the whole race. And Fowler's developing into that type of rider that if he gets out front and gets away, you're not going to catch him.
Yeah.
And that's taken away Chris Borch's last lap strategy to keep him tight, keep him close. We saw what happened at West Virginia. That was an unfortunate racing accident. I thought maybe that might take a little wind out of those boys' sails, but they took it like professionals and on to the next round, and and then that's behind us now. I just don't think that Chris is going to just walk away from Fowler anymore. I think if he takes the win from Fowler, he's going to have to earn it from now on. And that just shows where Fowler's at. I've been watching Walker since we started back in, 04, 05 with the minis. And he's always been a class act, and you knew he was going to be a champion one day. And now he's just at the point where he's able to take the fight to Chris, and that just is a whole new ballgame.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely making for some interesting racing, and that's for sure. And I mean, I think that the crowds on Saturday, the bike guys that come in and watch the races early and seem to be ATV racing fans, the crowd support that we have, I think that's a pretty good indication that that series, that particular race, that battle is really starting to become something noteworthy and something worth watching. Not that it hasn't been in years past, but it is really starting to hit a boiling point because, I mean, not only Walker, I mean, you've got Adam McGill that's got his great glimpses of greatness, and you can't count out Chris Bithell either. I mean, as far as consistency and the ability to be able to be there to win, those guys are definitely worth mentioning and talking about, as is some of the rookies this year that have been making some major strides.
I think Bithell and Adam are facing the same thing so many others are. Is they don't have the hands-on team support in between the races that Walker does and that Chris does. Adam's dad's building the bikes. Chris is building his bikes. They've got great support systems, but when you're the one that's riding the bike all week long, you're the one that's turning all the wrenches, that plays on you.
It sure does. That's a very good point, Kenny. That's an extremely good point. I mean,
you have a bad week practicing, you can't get something right on the quad, and you're the one dealing with all that stress, and then here it is Saturday, it's race day, and your head's not all the way in the game, you're tired, you're wore out going into it. It makes a big difference. Them guys, they push through it. You would hardly ever know it unless you pull them aside and ask them.
Right.
They just don't let on that anything's wrong. Hell, I think their quad could be broken half and half blown up, and they'd just be smiling and telling you everything's great.
Yeah, you're probably right. And, that point you make also is a good point about not saying that Cole Richardson doesn't deserve to be where he is and that he isn't fast, but I think that also lends a hand and helps out Cole a little bit, being a part of that Walker Fowler team also.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you've got enough skill to hang with those guys, for a month or 2 months at practicing at home tracks and different places, you're going to pick up their speed. You're not going to pick up all their experience, but you're going to pick up their speed. And that's what we've seen with Cole. I mean, he just, it just seemed like somebody threw a light switch on and told him there was, prize money at the end of the day or something. I mean, he just was gone.
Yeah.
And, he hasn't had 110% success, but, you don't expect that. I mean, this is their cutting their teeth stage in the Pro-Am class. And, he's going to be, if he moves up next year, he's going to be somebody to reckon. I mean, look at Jay Shadron.
Yeah.
I talked to his mom. I guess it was a Mountaineer, and I said, not that I had anything, a weird eye to look when Jay said he was skipping Pro-Am and going to Pro, but, you got to think, wow, come on, you can't just go from A class or whatever to Pro and be competitive, and here he's doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, that's awesome. It's totally great. I love seeing the success. I mean, I don't play favorites, but when you see somebody like that make the step, even skip a step, and not only are you out there doing it, you're being competitive with the top riders in the world. It's a good feeling. It shows that we've still got a lot of talent behind the top 1 or 2 or 3 guys that always get the glory.
Yes, for sure. And speaking of rookies in that pro class, I mean, you've also got last year's Pro-Am class champion, man. I mean, Bryson Neal. I mean, this kid is unbelievable as far as his, I think his advancements. He hasn't shown a lot of speed in the early part of the season, but he's hung tough, and it seems like every round he's starting to get stronger also.
Well, yeah, and like I said, that's going to come with experience. I mean, I know that him and Adam are good friends, and he really looks up to McGill. So, if they get a chance to ride together or something, he'll pick up even a little bit more speed. But Bryson, his selling point isn't how he does on the track; it's it's the kind of person he is off the track. I mean, he's just a stellar person all the way around.
Yeah.
There's another one I watched. My son used to race against him in the minis, and always a class act. You could always talk to him. He was always happy, always smile on his face, even if he had a bad day. And that's what we need up front promoting. What we do is people like that. Not everybody's going to go out there and be a winner, and not everybody's going to find the podium. But when these people are talking with fans, or they're out in public, and you've got such a great aura around you, I guess you'd say. Got bubbling personality. You get along, seems like, with everybody. Looking at it from my perspective, he's a marketing piece of work. You could really take him someplace, and he'll be there one day.
Yeah.
He'll get it. He'll find what he needs. I mean, his family's behind him. He's got good sponsors behind him. So, he's going to learn this year, and next year, he could be battling for a podium. You just don't know.
I think that's he's certainly going to be battling for top fives. I think when we come back for the from the break. I mean, the kid was on fire. I don't know if you've seen him and his entourage this weekend, but Bryson was up on the stage there at Snowshoe doing the one-arm push-ups, if you remember. And
oh, good Lord. No, I missed that. That's the thing I miss so much, because at the end of the day, as soon as the race is over, I go back to work. I've got 6 or 8 or 10 hours worth of work to do after the race. So I don't get to hang out in the pits or go to the after party, especially at Snowshoe. I went down for the ring ceremony for Caleb Russell, and wow, the DJ was rolling.
Yeah, he was. Was that not a crowd? I mean, wow.
Oh, that's to look out and see, 1,000, 1,500 people just doing their thing and cheering. Half of them probably didn't even know who Caleb Russell was. They were just cheering. But it's good to see that.
That I don't know, man, but I'm going to have to say that had to be well more than 1,000 or 1,500 people, man. I mean, that courtyard, as far back as I could see, man, there had to be scuds more than that. But I'm not a crowd expert or anything, but. Like Caleb Russell said, he goes, man, that was the biggest crowd I've ever received anything in front of. And I know sometimes we get upwards near, 800 or 1,000 people in our banquets at the GNCC, and that looked like a lot more people than that was at our banquet.
Yeah, it very well could be. I mean, I just got done watching a video from a West Virginia news channel that did something on Rick Proctor and that Veterans Awareness Program, and they had mentioned, 1,500 to 1,600 spectators, but that's the news. They don't ever get anything right.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was a tremendous amount of people. I mean, it was crazy. And I went back to the room after the ring ceremony, and Ryan walked back down to watch that band, and he came back and he's like, I've never seen that many people in one place in my life. I mean, he's just a little hit country kid, but it definitely leaves an impression. I think each year, it grows. It gets bigger, and more people want to come, and that's good for Snowshoe, and it's good for the series.
Yeah, it was kind of almost like Times Square-ish, man.
Oh, well, I told you, I point the camera towards the crowd, the girls go wild. I mean, it's people get into that party mentality, and they're just there to have a good time, and for the most part, it looked like everybody was under control. So and that's, Dean and I have talked, and others have talked about, what's it take to get more people at these events, spectator-wise, and that's almost what it takes. People want more for their money. Yeah, they want to come there and race. They want to come there and see the race, but they want to be around people that all have the same interests, and a concert or a DJ or something like that in some of these towns would really do a lot to bring more people in. But I think that if it happened at every event, it would also take away from it.
Right.
So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
It is. And speaking of that, and that's a good transition point right there, because, we have got something big like that going on the ATV motocross side of things as we get set to roll into Millville, Minnesota at Spring Creek, where the Mountain Dew ATV Motocross Nationals are going to be taking place there at Spring Creek this weekend. The boys over there, Rich Gillette and the boys over at Root River, have gone above board from what I understand. They've got some big things going on with concerts planned. They've got bands coming in and other neat things that they've got going on. I know that Rich was telling me.
Freestyle. Yep, they're doing freestyle. Tricycle races. They're having all kinds of fun stuff going on or something, and I got to miss it. That's a bummer.
Why? I did see that. Why aren't you going to be able to make that one?
Well, Foley was going out there this week anyway. He's out there now, and he was going to be out there all week. He had events planned that he had to do work with, and we just looked at it as it came down to money. I mean, the series is going to pay my fuel to go all the way out there and back when he's there. It's just no sense in spending the double the money for it. And it's also good to have a little bit different eye at some of these rounds. She mixes the pictures up. Me and Dave Smith talk all the time. We can stand side by side and take a picture of the same thing, and it looked different, depending on what he saw and what I saw.
Right.
So it's good to have a different view on it, a different take on some of these rounds. It mixes up the media that we get, the look. Heck, I could use a break. I'm not going to lie to anybody there.
No.
That run out to Sunset, that was quite a drive. I hadn't been that far in a while.
That was a long one. I think this one is like, for me, where I'm from, is like 12 hours or so, if I'm not mistaken. So. And
I'm 5 hours from you, so yeah, it's almost 19 hours for me. That's a little past the threshold of putting the 5-0 in the wind and getting out there. Hey, if I had to do it, I'd do it. Absolutely, no problem. I was, not last week, the weekend before, I woke up at 5:30 a.m. and the wife said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, I've been running 104-degree temperature all night. And I said, Harlan's there. I said, but I can shoot it if you can drive me there. So regardless, if Harlan hadn't been at Briarcliff, I would have been there. Might have taken a couple people to hold me up, but I'd have got it shot. You just don't quit. Quit just isn't in the vocabulary. But it's good to have backups. We all, Dave Smith is our ultimate backup. If anything was to ever happen, we've got it covered.
Yeah.
It is a big. I'm not going to say a big happy family, but we're a big family.
Yeah.
We love to tease each other, but at the end of the day, the work gets done.
Yeah, yeah. You mean you and Dave ain't really happy? You guys smile at each other an awful lot, not to be happy with each other, man. Come on now.
Oh, we make up stuff to be mad about. The fog and whether it's rain and we there's plenty of stuff we get mad about. Never at each other, but just at the stupid conditions. It's not like racing where we can prep our cameras or. Do this or do that. When it gets nasty like that, it just really, really takes the wind out of everybody's sails who's in the media side of it. But no, it's this one out there at Spring Creek is going to be a little wild and crazy. I think. Wienen's got a cushion. Natalie, the Hetrick's second in points. He's due to break out and have a win. Natalie, he's not going down without a fight.
Right.
Thomas Brown finally found whatever he needed to find and get himself back up there. So it's the racing side of it's been pretty competitive. I mean, even if you look at the points, you think, well, Chad's going to walk away with another one, but he'd walk away with nothing. He's earned every win and every point he's got.
Yes.
But there's a few riders that just are not getting what they want out of it, and that puts them in a bad way.
Yeah.
John Natale's a big cheesy smile, and he's a crowd favorite and all that. But boy, if he doesn't have a good day, he's a sulking rascal. And with good reason. I mean, they put everything they've got into it. It's tough to even when you see him on the podium. To him, if he's not first, he failed.
Yeah.
That's the mentality them guys have, and it's crushing to them if they have a bad day or a part breaks or typical racing luck. You just get shuffled around and can't get where you need to be.
I'm pretty excited about the depth of that pro class. I know right now, whenever you look at the big picture, you do have your elite riders, like, well, in particular, Chad Wienen. I mean, not taking anything at all away from any other rider, because any and every one of us know that Chad Wienen is more than capable of being beaten. He is, more than capable of making mistakes just like anyone. But he, like so many people that are in a championship run like he is on a level that, other people seem intimidated by for whatever reason. I mean, Chad's got 3 overall wins so far this year. He's got 2 seconds to back up those 3 overall wins out of the first 5 rounds, and he's got a 41-point cushion over Joel Hetrick. And actually, John Natale and Joel Hetrick are tied now.
Are they tied now?
They are tied now. Joel does have the one win. John, though, has, I guess better consistency. He had, the first 3 rounds he was on the podium, 2 seconds and a third. He did take 6th in, I think, Sunset and 5th in Ohio this past weekend. But Joel finished off the podium a couple of times. So it all evens out pretty much, and it's basically 195 points each for those guys. And then looking back, about another 19 points behind them is Thomas Brown now. Thomas Brown is 60 points out of the championship lead. Josh Upperman is 5th, 66 points. And then there's a big gap back to Josh Creamer, who is 97 points out of the championship. So those top 5, I mean, Chad, like you said, has got a pretty good lead, but we've got what I think is a pretty good battle for the second place position right now between Hetrick, Natali, and Brown, and all 3 of those with the next 4 rounds still available to score points in. I think it's going to get exciting between those 3 just for second. If something doesn't happen to Chad to tighten things up for the championship, at least we got that second place to look at.
Oh yeah, well, in every race, it's I forget what Chad said that one time. He doesn't look at it by rounds; he looks at it by motos. He's got 8 motos left or 12 motos left. And when you put it in that perspective, that's Vegas odds right there, man. If you had to put money on who's going to take the majority of those moto wins, it's got to go to Chad. And Kramer, talk about bad luck. I mean, he got his knee worked on. He's feeling good, comes into the season, and then just has stupid problems. Every round it seems like it's just something, little thing that just takes him out of contention. So he's never gotten fired up this year.
Yeah.
Brown, I really don't know what Brown's deal was. I really expected Brown to come out this year and be a continuation of last year. Chad and Brown on the podium every round. Hetrick, same way. Everybody was like, "Oh, Hetrick's on a Can-Am. That sucks." But the boy rides the wheels off the Can-Am.
Yeah, he does.
And I'm not brand specific. You want to run a con, go out there. I don't care. Just go out and be competitive. But at the end of the season, I still don't think there's certain riders that are not having the season that we know they're capable of, and that in itself is racing. Not everybody goes out there and is a dominating force. Chad's doing it, but look at the years Chad didn't do it.
Yeah.
And it's but the fun for me is not the top guys right now. It's watching guys like Ronnie Higgerson and Tyler Hamrick, and those guys that are just outside that lead group of racers. Ronnie led his first pro race at Briarcliff.
Yeah.
I was sick as a dog, and I'm getting updates on social media, and I'm getting all charged up, and I'm getting yelled at by the wife because I'm getting my fever's going back up. But he's leading the race. That's big, and it's not because the other 14, 15 guys wrecked in turn 1. He went out there and charged and took the lead away from Upperman. That's great.
Yeah.
His speed is really coming. Tyler Hamrick, you knew he was going to be strong at Briarcliff, but he's coming.
Yeah.
These are the guys you've got to look at down the road 3 or 4 years.
Something I can say about that race at Briarcliff, something happened that I don't know that it's maybe only happened 1 or 2 times throughout my 21 years or so of announcing motocross races and motorsports races. I did something and I caught myself doing it, and I was like, I couldn't believe that I was doing it. I was so into what was going on, Kenny, that I was announcing. And you know how when kids get excited, they start jumping up and down, whenever something really cool's going on?
Oh, yeah.
I was literally, physically jumping up and down like a little kid that was just so excited on Christmas morning or something crazy like that. I caught myself doing that a couple of times. I stopped and I was like, I can't believe I was going through my mind. I can't believe I'm doing this. But at the same time, I was like, I can't believe the racing that's going on out there right now. It was that intense. It was that good. It was that exciting.
Well, that's how it was at round 1, at Aonia. I looked over and Foley's got his camera down. I had to yell at him, like, take pictures, dummy. After the race, he's like, I was so into it, I forgot to take pictures. I said, I know, it was crazy. Then top 5 guys were like trying to kill each other out there. It was great, solid, bar to bar. You didn't know what was going to happen racing.
Yeah.
And that sounds like what happened at Briarcliff. It was full of charges, full of passes, and That's exactly what you need. I mean, the spectator turnout was supposedly awesome.
It was phenomenal. And, I mean, other than the, the bad crashes that took place I know there were a few that had several broken bones, but I think that Nick Moser probably the worst of everyone, unfortunately for him, and we're praying and wishing for him a speedy recovery, and it looks like things from what I've been reading on his Facebook are starting to look up and better for him, and he should be getting to go home. And also, unfortunately for Cam Koval, I don't know what happened. I didn't catch what happened at the end of that second Pro-Am Moto on Sunday, but something went awry for him, and I think he's got some kind of an injury that the doctor has set him on the sidelines until at least probably, he said, possibly coming back for Loretta Lynn's. But aside from those, dark moments, if you will, I think Briarcliff was an awesome, great race. I think that the facility was awesome, and I think a lot was learned there. And if we get a chance to go back there again, there's going to be, I think, some changes that are going to be monumental, and it's going to be making for even better things to take place there than what even took place this year. It was awesome.
Yeah, the pictures I saw from it, in the video I saw, it looks like a good location. I talked to the owner before the race. I talked to him after the race, and he was super pumped before. He was concerned afterwards that that there needs to be some changes made, but it's a learning process. When you bring this caliber of riders to the track, it's a different deal. And scanning across social media, the overwhelming deal was that everybody seemed to like it.
Yeah.
They enjoyed it. There was a whole group that didn't like it. And you have that at every track.
Yeah.
There's going to be sections that are dangerous. Wait, you come off that gate and it's dangerous.
Yes.
If it's something that can be prevented, I agree 100%. If you got to stop the race and fix something or whatever, if it's as long as you don't violate any rules, then it needs to be done. But I think you found a track owner and a facility that's open arms and really wanting the series in there. So hopefully they do bring them back. You don't have nothing to do with that. I don't have nothing to do with that. Just from a fan perspective, I want to go shoot it. It looks like a great place to take pictures.
Yeah.
And I want to see racing. I mean, if that place is good for competitive racing, that's one place I want to be.
Yeah. I hope that like you said, we don't have anything to do with that, but I agree with everything that you said, and like you said, the overwhelming majority seems to be favorable towards things there, and like you said, we've got some good learning curves and notes to work on, and I think we'll be all right. But anyway,
speaking back, I got to say it's about Nick Moser too. I hope he heals up quick. I've been keeping in touch with him, and I hate to see him say that he's hanging up his helmet, but everybody knows when they've reached their limit.
Right.
And that could be a sprained ankle, it could be an empty wallet, it could be a severe injury. And there's nothing wrong with throwing the towel in. I mean, this sport will eat you alive, and everybody knows that going in. So I hope that he gets healed up, can make a great life of it. He's still going to be around the track. You can't keep him away.
Yeah.
In Casey Martin, if you didn't see him walking away from this, you were wrong. I mean, he's building his own house.
Yeah.
Some of these guys are growing up. They may be 24, 25 years old, 28 years old, but all of a sudden they're starting to get engaged, starting to get married, starting to have a family.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to see more of that. You see that in a lot of sports. But in this one, especially with social media, we get so used to hearing from that person
mm-hmm.
about the race and about their life, that when they say, "Oh, I'm leaving," it's a big shock.
Yeah.
But we wish the best to everybody that did get hurt and going on the mend, and we'll see them as soon as they can come back. We'll see them.
Yeah. Yep. And I got some information on the upcoming weekend also there, Kenny, as we were talking about that a few moments ago. You had mentioned that we're going to have freestyle Saturday. Obviously 3 and 5 there local time, which will probably be, I don't know if it's that's probably a central time. Yes, a central time zone, but regardless, it'll be the motos will be running at 3 and 5. Autograph session again at 5:30. At 6 o'clock, they've got the Cody Hicks Band. That's going to be taking place on the stage. At 7:30, more FMX, which is freestyle motocross, will be freestyle with Colton Moore, Marco Picado, and it looks like Adam Thede possibly. My eyes are deceiving me here. There's a few other guys.
I'm sure J.R. Hines is going to get his butt in there too.
Yeah, and it's got J.R. Hines, I think, is going to be one of the featured jumpers also. So that's a pretty big showcase of freestyle ATV motocross riders, I think.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's to a lot of people who've never seen it live. It's pretty crazy. To see them guys pull tricks 25 feet up in the air over a 70-foot jump is on a four-wheeler of all things.
Yeah, exactly.
The bike guys, they're from another planet.
Yeah.
But the stones that it takes to take 400 pounds that high in the air and do tricks off of it and land, I've done all those tricks. I'm almost convinced that somebody watched me learn how to ride a four-wheeler and they just figured out how to do it over a jump. Yeah, I've done they can't do anything I haven't done. I just did it long before it was popular.
And unintentionally.
Yeah, that's the key word. I didn't mean to do that, but it looked cool. Them guys are crazy. I mean, they're a lot of fun to watch. They're a lot of fun to be around. They should put on a really good show.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, that's another thing. Everybody wants to change the series or change how we do things or change for the better, to get people in there. And I think that the more people you get on board with that, and as long as everybody's open to listening to different ideas and trying some new things, we're going to find out that, okay, at certain rounds, certain things work.
Yeah.
And, this might be a round where the weather, is normally good and the facility's laid out right to where you can have a freestyle show.
Yeah.
And another one may be, for something else. Heck, why not at Sunday Creek? They could be doing something there. Got a big enough area. But there's always a where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And this year, I just haven't heard as much bickering as I did last year, and that it seems like everybody's kind of focused on the same end goal of, we've got to bend. A big old oak tree, if it don't bend in the wind, it snaps. And that's kind of where we're all at.
Yep.
So I'm really hoping that this is successful and it can grow and be built upon, whether it's just at that round. And then, maybe we can find another round to do something similar or like I said, whatever works for that area.
Yep.
And that's just going to be betterment for everybody involved, the series and the sponsors.
Yep, and also they're going to have the Cody Hicks Band will be playing again that night, and at 10:30 they've got scheduled fireworks. And what's really cool is I was talking with Rich Gillette, who is very instrumental in what's taking place out there at Spring Creek this weekend, and he was telling me that this was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. He was telling me that they had worked with a radio station in a community that was at least 75 miles away from what I recall. And there was another one out there that they had, I know the one community already had 3 full tour buses full of people that were, they were bringing, and as the people were buying tickets, they were actually filling up tour buses. So I don't know how many they actually ended up filling up. How many will actually be there? There may only be 3. There may be 3 dozen. I don't know. But, the cool thing about it is, they seem to have a lot of media support, local community media support all around the region, not just right there locally,
Right.
around that town. So it sounds like they're reaching out into a lot of different communities. And I'm thinking if there are that many people that are going to be coming on a bus, I'm thinking there's probably going to be that many or more that are going to decide to drive over themselves as well.
Yeah, very possible. I mean, it's like I said, you're going to find areas that are in tune with this kind of stuff. I mean, look at Unadilla. Look at Unadilla. It's the same old Unadilla that we've gone to for years for the motocross. But you go there for the GNCC, you're like, where the hell do all these people come from?
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you have a good contingency come down from Canada for the motocross. But it's not as packed as it is with the GNCC. So we've got to figure out, okay, how do we get some of those people to the motocross side of it?
Right.
Because when you drive to Unadilla, it seems like you're out in the middle of nowhere. Because you're just out Route 8. You're just going and going and going, and there's this big old track. But like you say, surrounding it are all these towns and communities.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a way to reach out. And hey, if Mr. Gillette can reach out up there and get it done, then more power to it. He should be able to stand back and say, this is how you do it,
Yeah.
and then somebody should pick it up and try to run with it at other rounds.
Yep, I hope it all works out and it goes as well as it seems like it is. If nothing else, it's going to be a fun time for the ATV Motocross Racing Nation this weekend. I can tell you that. And
absolutely.
If you've got a chance to be out there, I think that you should probably come, even if it's just to hang out on the fence there and check it all out. And Kenny, if you decide you want to go, man, I'm fixing to leave tomorrow, so you're more than welcome to tag along.
Oh, no doubt that I may do that. You just never know.
Well,
it's definitely a long drive, but
well, you can share driving responsibilities with me.
Hey, there we go.
All right, buddy. Well, anything else that you can think of that you might want to pass along? We've been at this for about 45 minutes or so now, about 43.
Oh, goodness gracious, another hour wasted. No, I mean, everything seems to be going good. I mean, it's, no news is good news. There's the racing's just kind of rocking along, so this is just another year for me of learning and watching, and seeing what works, and hopefully that, at the end of the season we can sit down with bigger brains than I've got and put together a plan to make it even better next year. That's about all I can say on it.
Well, man, I tell you, you're doing a great job. Really appreciate all the photos and the posts and the comments and just keeping people involved and fired up and excited about what's to come. And look forward to meeting you again soon. I guess you won't be in Millville, but I guess we'll see you possibly at Unadilla then, right?
Yep, I'll be at the rest of them. I don't think I have any more time off.
All righty, bro.
But we'll see you there.
All righty.
You guys have a very safe and fun and exciting weekend, and I can't wait to watch it all.
All righty. I can't wait to get to see you again, and I can't wait to see what happens and tell you about everything that takes place this weekend at Spring Creek. All right, Kenny?
Oh, excellent, Rodney. Excellent.
All right. That's Kenny Hill. I'm Rodney Tomlin. This is the new Quad Radio.